Good afternoon from the National Weather Service office in Gaylord. Welcome to the latest hazardous weather briefing for eastern upper and northern lower Michigan. Today is Monday, April 8th, 2013. Not much in the way of spring-like weather is on tap for at least the next 5 to 7 days, as we're pretty much locked into a cooler than normal pattern. And with quite a bit of warm air suppressed off to our south, it's going to set up a rather active storm track and is going to bring some interesting precipitation issues to northern Michigan as we head into the middle and end part of this week, as a slow-moving trough of low pressure comes out of the western U.S. That will be bringing blizzard conditions to the high plains and the central Rockies tonight through tomorrow. And eventually that energy will be working its way towards the Midwest and Great Lakes region and will be bringing precipitation to northern Michigan. And it does look like we'll be dealing with some precipitation type issues forthcoming, especially heading into Wednesday and through the day on Thursday, where we could see anywhere from rain to ice pellets to snow to possibly some freezing rain as well, at least several waves of it. Now, there is a ton of uncertainty out there still with this system, partly because of the very tight temperature differences from north to south, with temperatures in the 30s and 20s even across parts of Canada and the upper Midwest, and temperatures in the 70s and 80s all the way down in the southern plains and down towards the Gulf Coast. So whenever you have a very tight temperature difference like that from north to south, any small changes in the position of that what we call a thermal gradient will have big impacts on storm tracks, precipitation amounts, precipitation type. So there is going to be a lot of change to the forecast going forward over the next couple of days. And it'd be nice to be able to give some specifics at this point, but that's going to be almost impossible right now. We'll give you some ideas of some of the trends that we're looking at, but you're going to have to keep an eye on later forecasts going forward, especially as you head into later tomorrow and into Wednesday, to get a better idea of specific precipitation amounts and precipitation types. What we're looking at here is the forecast, the current weather map for today, for Monday afternoon. And the main feature on this map is that east-west oriented frontal boundary that extends from the central Rockies eastward across the Midwest through the lower Great Lakes and off the east coast. Now that frontal boundary will remain in place over the next couple of days, as high pressure that's located in this map to the northwest over western Canada works its way to the east and southeast, and that's going to represent the much colder air mass trying to press in from the north. And meanwhile, south of that boundary, nice southerly flow of air coming out of the Gulf of Mexico is going to run into that boundary, and it looks like the Great Lakes are going to be right in between this sort of clash of air masses here, and that's going to set the stage for potentially more active weather. But there are some caveats to this, particularly with respect to the area of high pressure off to the north and some of the impacts it can have on our weather going forward. Here's the forecast weather map for tomorrow evening, and we see quite a bit of rain depicted, especially across the lower peninsula, where there may not be a whole lot of precipitation across the upper peninsula. And that may be a theme for a lot of this event, and the reason for that is the cold high pressure to the north of the region will be pumping in colder and drier air from the northeast, and that is going to be running into some of that moisture coming up from the south, and so that's going to be probably set up a rather sharp demarcation line between areas that do see precipitation and areas that don't. So it's quite possible that the eastern portions of the upper peninsula may not see a whole lot of precipitation out of this, and it's also possible that if the dry air continues to win out, that a lot of the precipitation may actually end up being shunted across parts of central and southern lower Michigan, and even northern lower Michigan may not get a whole lot of precipitation out of this. And like I said, that is one of those things that we'll be having to watch over the next couple of days, is exactly how that dry air impacts all of this. Because if it also impacts the precipitation amount, then it will also impact precipitation type, as it's more likely that we may see the possibility of more snow in some areas, or if we get enough warm air over the top of that cold air coming in from the northeast, we could see more in the way of freezing rain. So a lot of things to be dealing with over the next couple of days. Here's the 3-day precipitation forecast total. This runs from tonight through Thursday night, and this just gives an idea of how impressive this system will be as far as precipitation production will be. And you see a nice swath of basically 2 to 3 inches of rainfall forecast over central and southern parts of lower Michigan. But look at how the precipitation drops off rather quickly as you head into northern lower Michigan and into the UP. And that's just sort of an indication of how the small differences in storm track based on the strong north-south thermal contrast is going to have a big impact on exactly what happens with the system. So, like I said, what things look like right now can very easily change with the next forecast cycle, and possibly even the one beyond that, as we try to kind of hone in on some of the details with this. But some of the things we're looking at this point are that the precipitation type on the northern end of the precip shield, say perhaps from M32 northward, could end up being more in the way of snowfall, but they may end up seeing the least amount of precipitation out of this. While farther south, while the precipitation may be heavier, the precip may fall more as rain, especially tomorrow night and into the day on Wednesday. And then as the colder air tries to work its way in from the northeast, we may see more of a changeover towards maybe some sleet or snow, maybe some freezing rain if we get surface temperatures down fairly close to the freezing mark, since high temperatures, especially by Wednesday, are only going to be in the 30s, so we're not exactly talking about a very warm system for our neck of the woods. So as I mentioned, there's going to be a lot to deal with this system. There is some potential with this, that's for certain, but that potential could go either way. We could end up with quite a bit of precipitation that falls more as rain. We could end up with less precipitation that falls more as snow, or something in between. So this is going to be something that we'll be having to deal with over the next couple of days, as far as trying to figure out some of the exact impacts with this system. But just keep in mind that and this is primarily across northern lower Michigan, that winter precipitation certainly seems to be a pretty decent bet out of this. So in terms of what precip types end up falling, just kind of be prepared for the possibility that we can see something a little bit atypical for the middle of April. So again, the main hazards, again, that storm system coming up for the middle part of the week, that's going to be the main issue here. And like I said, we'll be having to kind of keep an eye on that in terms of trying to figure out exactly what impacts we'll be seeing across northern Michigan. So stay tuned to later forecasts. That concludes this hazardous weather briefing for this afternoon. Thank you for listening in. The next update can be expected around 5 a.m. Tuesday morning.